Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Ronnie, where I always seek to give you exquisite cranial repertoire. This week, we have a very special guest. We have Stan Simon. Say hello to everyone.
Hi out there. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start out with letting you take over and tell everyone about yourself.
How long do you want me to talk? Because people like to interrupt me if I start talking.
When I have questions, I jump in.
Okay, so I'll just start off where I came from. Originally, I came from a little place in New York called Brooklyn. I don't know if you ever heard of that. The Dodgers used to be out there. A lot of people are out there, and they're still there, and some are gone, like myself. The reason I'm gone, basically, because of the weather. I just could not take the snow and scraping the ice off the windshield and losing my parking spot and look up my car in the evening after I got home from work. It was too much for me, so I had the choice of where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Florida when I got older, like I am right now, or I wanted to go to California. So I said, everybody's going to Florida. I'm going to California. I don't like crowds. I really don't. Anyway, so basically that's why I grew up in Brooklyn. We came from a very poor family, had 6 boys, very little food to eat, lots of roaches in the apartment, but hey, that was part of life back then. And this is the early part of the 40s, okay? There were 5 boys, and my mom and pop, they were struggling like everybody else was at that time, you know. And the kids were taught that, hey, you know, you had to go out and work eventually. So we went through the school system in New York City, and my brothers did their thing, and I did my thing. Okay, my thing was, while I was going to school at night at that time. I wanted to get into broadcasting. Broadcasting at that time was fairly new. It really was. And I said, hey, I was only a 19-year-old kid. If I'm going to make a life, I'm going to make it in broadcasting. You know, that's an up-and-coming thing. So I went to school at night. I worked myself up, and I finally got a job at ABC Television in New York City. Right? I was very lucky. I really was. But I worked very hard. We were taught to work hard. My mom and pop said, hey, if you want this something in life, it's not going to come and hand it to you. You have to go out and work for it. And we really did. We really did. Because we knew what it was not to have. You know, people were always under the misconception, if you lived in New York, you had plenty. Well, we didn't have any. So that was a misconception. But anyway, the long and short of it is it taught us what to do in life. It really did. Very good thing. But I started working at ABC News in 1953. And I started in the newsroom, and I worked my way up very rapidly because I was a workaholic. Man, work did not stop me. I had an agenda. At that, I was a kid, 19. I had plenty of energy, and I had an agenda. And my agenda was to make something of myself. It really was. And I worked a lot of hours. Anyway, I was very fortunate. I got into the film department at ABC News Network. Now, that was really, as it turned out later in life, that set the thing for a lot of things that happened in my life. It really did. Because in ABC News, I was a video editor, motion picture film. At that time, it was just motion picture. They didn't have videotape. There's no such thing at that time. But anyway, we learned the mechanics of putting a video picture together with words. And that's what you'd be surprised how creative that really is. You know, until you're in that situation. And it took me years to learn this, okay? But it was all the training that I got at ABC News. And I have to thank them for that, the network. And they're still there. They're still there right near Central Park. They're still in operation, still going strong. Without me, I don't see how they could do that, but they did. They survived. Well, they survived. But anyway, what I learned is really putting words and being creative with video at the same time. And that in turn, it's kind of weird how life is. It really is. I'm an 87-year-old guy, right? And you never know what the future is going to hold for you. You really don't. And that's the joy of life. And that's the joy of life. You know, they always say, well, it's not where you're going, it's the trip getting there. And you know, the truth is, I think they're really right. I'm learning it the hard way. I'm still learning. Hey, I'm a babe in the woods. I'm only 87. Give me a break. I'm still learning. But here's what happened. When I was doing all these things with the video, because I was a film editor, it led me into sound studios.
Okay.
Because I had to do soundtracks. Okay, you add effects, a shotgun, or what, a person screaming, or whatever, like real movies you see in Hollywood now. We had to add those.
Michael Jackson, if you listen to Michael Jackson's music, he has a sound effect for every word that he says in the song. So I listen for sound effects. So I feel you on what you're saying.
Yeah, this is really true. The effects make it. People don't realize you have music in the background. You can see a movie, you'll always hear music in the background. You can even hear silence. Would you believe it? Even silence has a sound. People don't even understand that. Because if you take silence away, you have dead air. That you'll hear. Okay? But anyway, I really learned this only going to sound studios quite a lot. Anyway, I worked at ABC News for about 26 years. In 1979, I quit, and I started my own electronics company. I got, my head goes a lot of different places. It really does. I wrote children's stories. I used to like children's stories, okay? And that got me used to writing. In the interim, while I was at ABC News, I also started going to college at night because I used to see the writers. They were creating nice words. I looked at these guys. I said, you know, these guys are too much smarter than me. I said, if he can do it, why can't I? And I worked my ass off. I got to tell you the truth. Working in the daytime, I was going to school. I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey at night. And it took me 6 years to get my degree. But I got to tell you, once you get that paper, you say, hey, you know, I did it. Nobody put a gun to my head. Nobody said you got to do these things. It's because I wanted to do them. All right? Anyway, so now I quit ABC. Now I got my new company. I got an electronics company. And, hey, what the hell? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
How old were you then?
At that time? Well, it was 19. Okay, it was 19. Like I said, it was 1979. I was born in 34, so I was 43, 44. Okay. So I was an old guy already, but I was starting a new company. And I didn't know anything about what I was doing. 44. At that time.
Don't say that. I'm 44.
Well, you're a baby. Now, I look like you. You're a baby. You look like a baby. Anyway.
No. You're still a young man then.
Okay, a young man. Okay. So I started the business. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But like everything else, you mess up, you do it, you mess up, you start making connections, you make friends, so on and so forth. But anyway, here's where it really starts getting something really interesting that I think your fans are going to really enjoy this one. So this was 1979. So shoot ahead to 2005. Now, when I used to work in my business, I work like an animal. I also work, I still do. I'm only 87. I'm still a kid, right? I still put in a lot of hours. I really do. But anyway, so at that point in time, like I said, okay, so I come home, I was tired. We had dinner and everything, and the wife and everybody went to bed. And to relax, I'd sit on a computer for about 3 or 4 hours at night. Mm-hmm. And one day I was sitting on the computer. This is where it really gets interesting. I see that there was a contest. Somebody was running a contest, right? What kind of a contest? They said they wanted me to write some lyrics, or whoever entered the contest. They wanted you to write some lyrics of all things. You ready for this one? The blood meter that diabetics take their blood every time, right? Now, I was a diabetic. I still am, for that matter, okay? Unfortunately. But okay, my mom had it. And my lovely mom gave it to me. I said, Mom, why'd you do that to me? I hate you. But I really did. I really did. She was a fantastic lady. But anyway, so it said, hey, you have to be a diabetic, okay, to enter the contest. I said, well, I'm a diabetic. I said, that means I can enter the contest. Can I write lyrics? I like to write, but I don't know. I never wrote lyrics. I said, and they wanted me to write about a blood testing meter. I said, how the hell do you do that? So I sat down for really a couple of hours. I had to think about that. I said, well, the only thing I came up with, now get this one. The Diabetic Association says you should be testing your blood 5 times a day to keep control of your sugar. All right? So I said, wait a second, how do I connect that to the song? So you know what I did? I connected. I said, you know something? I'm going to treat that little thing that I hate to do every day like a lady. I'm going to say, you know something? I said, I'm going to say, I like the way you touch me every day long, right? Let's see how that comes out. And honest to God, that's really what I wrote. That's really what I wrote. So I entered the contest, and I didn't even know if I won. This is going back in October, November that year, and I didn't even know if I won or not. And I had the lyrics. I wrote on a scratch piece of paper. I threw it in the garbage. I said, come on. Who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm not going to win. No way in hell, right? Mm-hmm. And after I threw that thing away, wouldn't you know, a week later, I get a mail, a first-class mail that says, hey, you won first prize. I said, what? Me? I said, must have been a lot of dummies out there. I can't believe that. That's really true story. So they said, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to fly you and your wife out to New York to a sound studio. You're going to watch the artists perform that. Well, they did. They really kept their word, and they flew me. This is in 2005 now. They flew me and my wife out to the sound studio. Now, here's the funny thing about the sound studio. That sound studio, many years, I used to go to that same sound studio in New York City. And I used to do my sound mixes for ABC News. And now here I was coming into the sound studio, and they were going to do a mix of my song of all things. Well, we get there, and who's the artist and who walked into us? Now, this is going to floor you. This will really floor you. Mr. B.B. King himself.
Okay.
Really, and why B.B. King? B.B. King had diabetes, walked in. He was a big man. I got to tell you, what a beautiful man this guy was. No kidding around. This goes back in April, like 2005. At that time when he came in, it was a very windy, coldy day in the studio. Yeah. Well, not in the studio, in New York City. And he walked in and he says, does anybody have any hot tea? He says, I'm dying. You know, at first I didn't know who it was. And then his agent introduced me to BB. You know, we shook hands. Big man, heavy man, but a beautiful man, I got to tell you. I mean, this is the guy, honest to God, you just want to be friends with him right away.
A legend.
Really? Have coffee, you know, have a sandwich. You know, nothing about this guy, you know, he didn't want to know who he was. He was just BB, okay? And of course, he brought along his girlfriend, Lucille, with him, his guitar. He doesn't go anywhere with that. And that's a funny story. I don't know if your listeners want to hear that story. Okay, about Lucille.
I'm from Arkansas. I'm right across from Memphis.
Oh, okay. You want me to tell you that little story?
Go ahead.
The funny story about that story is Mr. B.B. King, how he got his girlfriend, Lucille. He was in Arkansas at the time. Honest to God. Now, you know more about Arkansas than I do, for sure. But there was a place there at that time called The Twist. I never heard of it. But he said it was in a wooden building, and he would meet with a lot of his musician friends there. Now, whether they did a gig there or not, or whether they just stood there to bullshit, pardon my language, no, I don't know. But there were a lot of people there. There were a lot of people there at that time. And BB was there with his friends and everything, talking about music, of course. What else are they going to talk about? And suddenly, two gentlemen in the crowd, they got into a fist fight. And what they did at that time was an old wooden building. What they did to warm the place up, they had a big barrel of kerosene or whatever that they had on fire to warm the place up. And these two gentlemen got into a fight. They knocked this barrel of kerosene over, and it went all over the place. And maybe like the rest of everybody else, they just ran out of the place. This place was just wood. It was going to go up in tinder, right? And he ran out. And then he thought to himself, hey, I left my guitar in there. And he wasn't going to leave his guitar in there. He ran back in by himself. He really did. And now the building was about to collapse on his head. He grabbed the guitar. He got out in time. He really did. Just got out in time. Saved his life. Really true story for what I hear. But anyway, once he got out, he said, what were these two clowns fighting about? What the hell was that all about? He said, they were fighting about a girlfriend. They wanted to share his girlfriend. What was the girlfriend's name? Lucille. And that's really how he named his guitar. And he always, every guitar, he had several guitars, always kept the name Lucille. And he brought it to the recording studio that day to record my song, right? The name of that song is You Have a Way. And he gave me credit. I have credit on that label. If you call that song up, you'll see the credit, Stan Simon. Oh, wow. I don't believe it. And right after he did the song, and I have pictures of him sitting there playing Lucille, playing his, it just blew me away.
You say you're not in the industry, but actually, if you work professionally in some point, you're in the industry. I mean, because you just gave me a span of at least from 2005 to 2019, so you can't say that you're not in the industry. You're in the industry.
Yeah, I do.
So, my question is, how do you fit social media into this?
Well, something I got to tell you, to me, that's a mystery. That really, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, okay? And I'm on a thing, I don't know if you ever heard of LinkedIn. That's a business application. That's a business platform. So I'm on all three of these things. Matter of fact, I wasn't even going to bring this up, but right now I have a shop. I can't sit still. My head goes constantly. You think I'm kidding? I swear to God. I wake my wife up in the middle of the night and said, hey, I got a great idea. I like to invent things. I like to create things. But that's really who I am. I could look at a problem. I say, Jesus, it's so easy. I got an answer to that problem. I really do. I don't know why. I got a crazy head. My head goes constantly. As a kid, I swear to you when I tell you this, my mom and poppy say, another one? Another kid, 70 years old. But that's really who I am. But I was in the industry, and you're right. I listen to music. I listen to what's going on. I listen to what's going on in the world. So now that I'm retired, I was forced out of retirement. Okay, when I had my electronics company, I got very sick in 2016. And I was forced to quit. And I won't go into the whole sob story. I died on the operating table, and they brought me back to life, I think only because the doctor wanted to get paid. So he wanted to make sure I was around. But no, really. I didn't even want to retire. At that time, I was like 82, but I was forced to. I think the guy upstairs said, hey, we don't want you up here either, so get lost. But anyway, so I think of things to do, and I like to write.
Well, I want you to tell everybody, I know the name of your latest single is Christmas, and where they can find your single at.
It's called Christmas Time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's on Apple iTunes. And later on, if any of your viewers, they can take my personal address down, my email, I'll shoot them out a copy in no time, no problem. I have it on MP3. And like I said, I really work hard. Yesterday, I finished about 80 applications sending out my song to 80 college stations around the country. And when I tell you I put in work, I put in a lot of work. I don't kid around.
It's an easier way to do that. I'll tell you later.
Okay, but I'm just saying, hey, I do what I know I can do, and I go on the computer, and my behind gets a blister on it. I'm sitting so much on a computer, but that's who I am. If I want something, I go after it. I do not kid around. I really don't. I don't make a pest of myself either, by the way. I find that annoying, okay? But I could do business with you. I could tell. Yeah, you look terrific lady. I'm glad there's a connection.
Social media handle so they can follow you on social media.
Okay, I'll be happy to do it at the end of this. Yeah, just tell me when to start. You tell me when.
Give everybody a social media handle.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if you go on to Facebook, it's Stan Simon. You go on to Instagram, it's Ripple, RYYPLE. You go on to LinkedIn, it's Stan Simon. Very easy. It really is. I mean, listen, I got a simple name. That's why my name is Simon, Stan Simon.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. You can find his music, Christmas Time, on Apple Music. And I am going to link his address in the description box if you want to get a hard copy or MP3 of Christmas Time. And you can find us on all social media platforms on the Blonde Intelligence page. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on
I'm going to be all of that. I'm going to be looking over.
And you can find the podcast on all podcasting platforms, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, anywhere of your favorite podcasting platforms. And you can also find a recap on the website, www.blonde-intelligence.com. Thank you for coming.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's been my pleasure.
All right. I'm going to email you. Okay?
Yep. Nice.
Okay. Bye.
You. Bye.
See you soon.